Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carlton People. This is episode number 60. Today, I went and found someone who's literally a blue abroad. Richard, or Rash, as I should say, all the way from the Middle East in the sandpit. Mate, welcome.
Mate, an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on. What a pleasure to be on your show and be number 60.
It's a clean number, isn't it?
What's that, mate?
It's a clean number.
Absolutely. And all the way from Dubai, the sandpit, as we like to call it.
There's a lot going on in the background. It looks very homely. I feel like I'm in your home.
You are. You are. Welcome.
No, it's good to have you here, mate. And it's always good to speak to people who aren't in Australia for a number of reasons, just because it brings a real realness to the channel. You know, Blue Abroad, we're everywhere. We're all over the world, and we really are. And I'm sure you live amongst many, whether they're Carlton supporters or not. There's a lot of footy fans outside of Australia, right?
Absolutely. No, there's from Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Egypt, across the board. You'll find Carlton supporters or AFL lovers. We've got a local, Middle Eastern AFL team in Dubai. We've got, as they call them, the Dubai Dingoes.
The Dingoes.
The Dingoes, which is quite ironic. It's great, man. And I've been here for I moved here in 2006. So I've been here for a while and recently moved back to Melbourne. I'm in between and currently stuck with the border closures at the moment with the pandemic thing. But that's my little story on coming here. So, yeah.
Well, we were talking a little bit off camera, and I don't know if you really want to be in Melbourne right now, maybe in a couple of months. But, today's a nice day. The sun is shining. I've got beautiful natural light in the room here. But, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to getting your story. Well, why don't we start? Well, why don't you start? How did you become a Carlton supporter? Like, where does it all really begin for you?
Oh, my God. Look, my first recollection, I was, in primary school, I think, and must have been really young, would have been prep or whatever. I remember just kids in the playground doing like Wayne Harms, and I was thinking, what the hell is this? And I was jumping and turning between different teams when I was a kid. I think I liked Geelong initially, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But I did. And then I think it was roughly around about 1982 would have been. I was still very young. I watched the grand final. So that's my first recollection. And I was a Blues supporter. I was just in awe of that great team, the Dominator and the Bars and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think 82. I just, they were so big and they had swag, and perhaps maybe I thought I had swag as a 5-year-old, but it just resonated with me. And being born also in Carlton, which is another thing, was like, all right, that's my team. So yeah. That was my first recollection, is the 82 grand final, watching that and being in awe. And then after that, I just,
You caught the bug.
Yeah, I did.
So you have the privilege of having watched what I have been told about, but never experienced, that being the mighty Carlton Football Club, the Premiership quarter, the champion players. What was that like?
Look, especially in the early days. 82 I was probably a little bit too young, but seeing my more vividly, probably around about 86, 87. That flag particularly, it was just amazing. We had so many stars, and there's stars across the board in every single part of the ground. And it just felt good to be a Carlton supporter, because it's like, you're Carlton, you're either going to win the flag or you're in the finals almost every year. And we had a lot of heroes. So it was great.
Yeah. Who did you latch on to? I feel like as kids you start with your heroes, and that gets you across the line with the club. And then I think as you get a little older, you feel the connection with the supporters and the family. But who are your specific heroes, if you had any specifics?
I did. I think what got me at the start with the 82 was the Buzz. And then I chopped and changed. But throughout that, consistently, it was the dominator. And I'm sure you get people roughly my age that will tell you the same things, that will go on and watch him at a game and how he was just tough, and he resonate what Carlton was about, with his swag. And Wayne Harms, and then in '87 when we won the flag, I was a big Mark Nayley fan, number 17. So those were the '80s, and then moving on, obviously Kernahan, Diesel, Bradley, Sauce, those type of players. Until recently.
Nayley was the speedster, right? He was the quick one.
Yeah, number 17, I believe.
Yeah. I've seen some footage. He passed away, I think, not long ago.
He did, yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah, he did. But as a kid watching him, he was like a speedster. It was so exciting to watch. And he only played for Carlton like 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years. But created such distinction in the way he played. It was great.
Yeah. We're going to touch a little bit on this group and what we're looking for in a moment. But you mentioned, there were heroes and there were stars. I think a lot of the criticism about what we see today is, we don't necessarily have like a unit that plays together. And a lot of people who watched, the golden era talk about how we had, superstar players. But what was it about the team cohesion? Like, did they have that? Can you explain what you saw there?
Oh, look, they were just. I think it was look, without knowing what was in those walls, but they just had this. I don't want to say arrogance, but some people could call it arrogance. There's a thin line between confidence and arrogance, but absolute confidence. And the way they played, they were tough. You had, some, like, you got to remember in those days, it wasn't a draft, and they just picked the best players. So, they get John Dorotich and Peter Motley. I don't know if you know who Peter Motley is, but he was a great player, and Bradley, and we were supposed to get Platten that year also, that we got Sticks also. So look, they were just hard and tough, and they had stars. And I don't know, it's a bit different. Maybe it's the coaching, a whole bunch of different things, but yeah, definitely there was a lot of cohesion. I think they were really, really tight. It showed that, so without being privy of what's happening in those four walls, but there's definitely cohesion. And especially in '95, I mean, you just knew from that year that, after the bye, was it a bye? Well, we lost 2 games. No, it wasn't. I call that a bye, but we lost 2 games by, to St Kilda and Swans, I think it was that year. It was like, after that, you just could tell they're going to win the flag. They won it.
Yeah. So you work very much with, I guess, the mind. Maybe shed some light. I mean, you've got a really solid relationship and even a really solid chapter, I'll call it, with Bashar Hooli in his book as well. Can you share with me and us watching a little bit about what you do and how that works for you?
Yeah, sure. Look, initially, I've been in the entertainment business for about 25 years, but I'm not that old, just putting it out there. But
you're only as old as you feel.
Well, exactly. No, I used to head up a couple of record labels and stuff, and signing artists and that sort of thing. And in the last 6 years, and why I've mentioned the entertainment business is because when you're working with rock stars and bands, they can be, quite complicated. And I always was interested in the psychology side of things, and also being a DJ, and had a pretty good name in Melbourne, in some of the big clubs over there. Again, fascinated what works on the dance floor, what makes people move, all that sort of stuff. So in a way, I've been doing this for like 25 years, but in the last 6 years doing it really professionally. And I did a course, I got a certification in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, for those who don't know. And I'm a certified hypnotist also, so, which is quite interesting. For some people, they're freaked out, but that's probably for another topic, and I'll tell you about that. But then what I've done is the last 5-6 years, and recently I've done stuff with Bashar Hooli, and I'll get to Bashar on his own Bashar Hooli Foundation. So I work with his, there's a camp, there's a Bashar Hooli camp and they train 15 to 18-year-olds, and I come in and do the mental fitness to teach them about visualization, removing limited beliefs, how to create that self-confidence and belief in themselves. And my story with Basha, and you're referring to his book where I've almost got a chapter in there, is he was my next door neighbor. And all of the stuff that I was learning at those days, reading my books in early 2000 and trying to become this psychologist, I was pushing it onto him. And I tried to get him into music. He didn't do that. So he went the opposite way of that. And he was a mad Carlton supporter. And we used to listen to the football together on the radio when the games were not on. I've had a fantastic relationship with him. And I'm really, really happy in how his career has flourished. And we wish we had had him at Carlton because he really desperately wanted to be there. So it's a good relationship, and hence, I'm going more into that athlete stuff. I'm also working with an Olympian swimmer from Canada, and I've got a few athletes as clients and just work on that mindset. And I'm super passionate about it. I have a podcast I do called the Hit DXB with a friend, and we're just talking about things and how the importance of doing fitness, just like you do fitness in the gym, how it's important to do the fitness in the mind and keep that at its optimum. So that's pretty much what I do in the background. So and I think it's really important. I think now it's becoming a lot more in the limelight, but it wasn't like that before. So it's good because people are having issues with mental health, and the first thing you do with mental health is put your hand up and say, hey, I've got a problem, and go see an expert to help you with that. And you'd be surprised that you create your own limitations. Sorry, I'm going a little bit too far on this.
No, it's great.
I'm passionate about it, Tez, so, and I help people with, breaking through that. And it's exciting on the football side of things because you can see the results the following week. You work with someone that haven't had a good game or whatever, and then you do a couple of techniques and they work on it, but they've got to be teachable, of course. And then you see the result the following week. It's great.
Yeah. No, I wanted you to go in depth because it's so relatable to our group. There's a few examples that spring to mind. I remember Zach Fisher in 2020 when he first went forward and they moved his position, and he was talking about how in the past he would, wouldn't get near it in the first quarter or whatever, and for the rest of the game it would play on him. So I guess let's start with what are you seeing at the moment? Seeing what you've seen the success, you've seen what makes a great team, you've also seen what makes a great athlete mentally. What are you noticing about the current group at the Carlton Footy Club?
I have to be really careful because you've got a lot of Carlton people that watch this. So I'm going to be careful with my words, whether I should be absolutely honest. And I'm sure that whoever's listening and watching would say, just say it. I think without saying mentally weak, I think they need a lot of work on that because it's obvious and it shows that they need a lot of work in that. And the example of Zach Fisher and going into the forward line, it's obvious he didn't want to go there. He wants to play midfield. And he was pushed there into the position for whatever reason, the coaching, whether you say it's right or wrong. Because you can look at it in two ways, Tez. You can either say, oh, no, he's a midfielder, keep him in the midfield. And someone else could look at it and say, you know what? By putting him in the forward line makes him more dynamic. So having both. So it's the way you see it. They need a lot of work. And I was actually talking to the POM yesterday about this. He was on my show. And we were talking about SBS and Dow, which is next to. And I said, I would absolutely love to work with those two. Because I know if they're coachable, I know what the problems are. And I would love to. So it's here, but why you get fluctuations is because they're not fit. So it's like, imagine, how can I explain this the best way? So imagine I said to you, go Tez, go pick up these 10 boxes. You've never done any gym, you're not fit, you eat McDonald's every day or whatever it is. You'll do it. The first bit, you'll do it and you go, okay, so I've done once, twice, 3 times. Then you're going to be puffed out. And it's the same thing on the football field with the mental toughness. Yeah, I can do it. I do it. And then something happens, a challenge happens, a roadblock or whatever it is, and they go into their shells. So unless you train that, just like you're training to pick up those boxes and you start doing cardio and getting yourself body fit and eating the right food, and eating the right food is for the body, but also eating the right food for your brain, there is a particular food for that. And that's, surrounding yourself with good people, reading books, visualization, meditation, all these sort of things. That's what I think that needs to get done. And I'm really passionate about it. And I'm sure that they're not doing it. And a psychologist is different when you have a psychologist in the football team, which every club has, is different to what I do. And that's why I want to make that distinction. So people go, oh, we've got a psychologist. Psychologist is there to help you with different types of problems. This is about high performance with the mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely hearing what you're saying, and it relates so much to our group because for too long, there's always been, I mean, especially with, let's talk about, this current rebuild, we'll call it. So, 2015 onwards, we all say it every week. People come on the fan cams or whoever I speak to, they're good in patches, but they're just not good enough for long enough. And so what you think is like a combination of physical fitness to know they can do it for long enough. And then once they do that for long enough, they've got that confidence to say, I can do this for long enough and then do it. Or like, are they missing on both levels?
No, it all starts, in my opinion, and I'm very subjective in this way, it all starts at the mind.
Okay.
When that's clean, and you have the belief, it all starts with there.
Yeah.
And this model that we call is based on your conditioning, the way you think, that creates your results.
Yeah.
So getting in there, whether or not, yes, you've got to do the preseason, you've got to do that, you've got to be fit for sure. You can be as fit as you want, and then you don't have the belief or don't even think that you're fit, which is another point. And you're not going to get, and that's why you get your, fluctuations. I mean, there's more than that. I'm really giving you a layman simplistic term without and not being privy of what's happening inside the club. But yeah, there's a multitude of different things that need to be tackled on that.
Yeah.
And it's a buy-in. It's a complete buy-in on that, because it's not like, oh yeah, he's coming in, he's rich, and let's come in. And I've been there when I do corporate. So I do either corporate coaching or with a particular team. If they're not going to be into it and they just go, okay, let's, you do your little bit of hypnosis and blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. But no, there's got to be a buy-in of wanting to change. And that's got to do top down. So where we're at the moment, we need a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think it's underestimated of how the level of importance in that. And you just have to look at teams like Richmond, who have adopted that since 2016 with Dr. Emma Murray, and they've done a massive turn. And I'm aware of that program through Basha, my close relationship with him, and she's pretty much doing the same things that I do. We have the same qualifications, which is what I understand. So, and it's made a significant change. But it's not only one person; it's a collective.
Yeah.
Right. You can go out and teach. You got to create the right environment. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think, like there's a difference between hearing a message and listening to a message.
Yeah, and consuming it, and then making, I'll give you an example, Tez. You go out there and you're pumped up and you go, right, I'm going to go see this Tony Robbins video, or I'm going to go see him speak. You see this motivational speaker. Same sort of thing. I'm trying to give you the same the way it works. You get excited for a day, 2 days, 3 days. It's even like reading a book, going, oh my God, pumped up. And then after 3 or 4 days, you go, oh yeah. Or like a New Year's resolution. I'm going to stop smoking. And you stop for like the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, or I'm going to get skinny or whatever it is. You go back into the same thing. This is based on your conditioning. So when you work on that and you work out what the root cause is, and this is where I'm interested in, and I'm not sure, maybe your viewers might be getting bored with this stuff. So
no, it's an important conversation.
When you change that, and the way I look at it is in a technical way. So it's like, just imagine that your mind is a computer. Okay, the hardware is the computer. The software is all those programs that are going on the hard wires that's gone on, neuro stuff. They're creating these programs that you do automatically. Most of our thoughts are 90% the same thoughts as the day before, and the day before, and the day before. So if you look at this as a metaphor, it's like a computer. You can go into the computer, into the operating software, change some programs, delete some, upgrade some, and then you're working on your optimum. And then every year or so, you have a little bit of an upgrade. You know, it's not like quick fix, that's it, I'm done. Life is full of challenges and exciting. You know, how boring would it be if we're doing the same thing and we're not challenged every day?
Yeah.
That's just my positivity and look at life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you look at where we are at the club right now. At the time of filming this, we have parted ways with David Teague. We've half the board's gone. We really are going through another layer of like serious change. We don't have a coach right now. We don't know who it's going to be at the time of filming this. You know, we'll watch this video in 10 years from now and we'll know what the result is after this video. But
there might be a couple of coaches since, by the way.
What's that?
There might be another couple of coaches since in 5 years.
Hopefully it's the same coach or two and then a couple of premierships. But
yeah.
What are you seeing now with all this change? Like, do you necessarily think that the next coach will come and we'll have that initial change effect, and then, you know, we've got to be careful not to go back into our dangerous behaviors? Or like, what's important right now as we move into this next layer of the rebuild?
Okay. It's a great question, Tez. Change is good. Okay. And sometimes you got to do some radical change to really, and we did that. And it's evident with the rebuild we did in 2015. And I think, personally speaking, I think our list is good.
Yep.
Very good. I don't think it's excellent, but it's at a level where it can compete really well. So all this change, if it's real change, and without getting into too much of the politics, but if it's real change, that's great for our club.
Yeah.
Because then we're saying, all right, this didn't work before. What do we need to do? How do we change? How do we get the right people involved in the club from a coaching level? And this is no disrespect to David Teague, because I like David Teague also. So from a coaching level, staff, administration, board, that for me, in the direction it's going at the moment, and it's a little bit too early because there might be an EGM spill and stuff like that. So until that's known, and what Luke Sayers is going to tell us and what changes he's going to make, it's a little bit early. But I'm the optimist, and I always think things will be good. I actually think that where we're headed now, in my own opinion, is in the right direction. I really think, even with this thing of, you know, a possible EGM or whatever it is, if it happens or doesn't happen, the club is listening and they're trying to make some change. Okay. So whether it's the same, people might say it's like for like, and same people or whatever, regardless of what's happening, is the members are woken up. People are looking and going, hey, listen, you know what? We're sick of being mediocre. We want to take it to another level. And I think that's playing on the mind of, you know, president and board and people, and going, right, how do we get this club back? So if the initiative is out there to make real change, and not this five-day change like after New Year's resolution, and we go back to the same thing, then we're going to be in good stead. So on the basis of that, that's the only way we can predict what's going to happen in the future. But it's positive because things, you know, and here's the other thing, Tez. What's great is that it shows that you guys do on Blues Abroad, and for us it's great because we don't get that much football and stuff, you know, Carlton fix. So, you know, your channel is a fix for all of us. It's great that you guys are doing what you're doing, and that gets the message out. So more people now are, you know, watching your fan cams, watching Jumper Punch, watching all that sort of stuff. So the information that is out there, it's circulated, it's on social media. So it's not like the old days. Again, this is even different than 5-10 years ago. Information's out there. So they've got to be really, really smart in the direction, because at the moment they're not looking like good guys. and they need to change that perception. And that starts within.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, footy in terms of the experience of watching the footy, even in the, let's say, forget about the last 10 years, but in 20 years, how we used to consume the footy and how we consume it now, it's so different. It's so different. You have, I mean, not only do you have, YouTube channels, podcasts and whatnot for fans to talk and give opinions and distribute the message, but also, I mean, it's not, I use the comment about it's not linear anymore. It's not just you and the footy and the screen in front of you. There's the third screen. There's your phone with either your dream team super coach, or if you're a punter, you've got your multi on, or if you play draft stars, whatever the case may be. Like, it's a totally different experience now. And I think the club, it's so interesting because we sort of moved in a different direction in 2015 because we weren't really a club that went to the draft heavily and whatnot. We had that mentality of go and buy the best, and obviously salary cap changed that. I still think we have another layer of evolution to come, and I hope we don't miss out on it because footy is a totally different experience now.
Can I say that there's a couple of things to your point, and we call this the generation of instant gratification. It's different. In the 80s and 90s, your forms of entertainment was football, cinemas, music. You listen to the radio, you go to the cinema, and music and food, of course, restaurants, which your main thing of spending wallet, as we call it. And where we are today, and even if you look at music, and which is my bag in the entertainment field, you used to buy a record or a compilation or an album and you'd like one or two songs. No longer the case. I go Spotify, I have Apple Music, I listen to the song when I want to listen to the song. I don't have to wait for the radio. It's instant gratification across the board. And I think the other thing is, to your other point, is that, yes, we're getting to this evolution, but one key thing that we haven't got right yet, and we need to as a club, is actual development. And that for me is developing our own needs a lot more work. People like Paddy Dow, Lockie O'Brien, even SPS, they should be far further up in the development to where they are today. For a number of reasons, whatever you say, we're not privy. We don't know what's happening in that club. But for sure, and I'm not sure, here's the thing, every other club has got their challenges when it comes to that. I just feel that that's a constant, never-ending improvement department that we need to work on and create a lot more focus. It's not about just a coach coming in. And yes, he's going to come in and create his programs, but it's hard to do as a one-man show. People like to take the credit and say, and Clarkson is a good example. He's a genius. He's done recruitment, but mate, he's had some great people around him. You got to remember that it's not one man. I've worked with tons of artists. We've had #1 records. It's not saying, okay, it was just me that created this #1 record. Oh, we had a team, production, and a whole bunch of different people that create this as a collective to get it to that success. So I just urge people to think beyond just it's one person. I think it's a collective. And it's a thing. It's learning and development. And that was probably the best thing what Teague used to say, that he used to get bagged a lot. But it is a lot about learning and getting better. So you can, people could bag him and stuff, but I don't think he was that bad.
Yeah. So based on what you're seeing,
yes.
and based on your view, I ask everyone this to close, but you got to give me a year. When are the boys lifting up the next cup? I'll explain after you answer what I've been getting a lot of, but based on the trajectory that you're seeing, when are we winning this next flag?
If we win a flag in the near future, I would say I was always saying 22 was the year of the blue. And this was my thing. And I was saying, because I predicted that we should have been there in 22. Today, I don't think that. I think we can make the 8 next year. And if we're drinking your Kool-Aid, because you like to distribute that a lot to everyone.
I drink it, mate. I drink so much of it.
I know you do. And you're part of the reason why we drink the Kool-Aid, because you sell it to us too. That's we're going to do it every year. Every year I watch your videos. It's like, or after a win, Tez, you're so funny. But I love it. I love your positivity. It's like, yes, 12 and 2, whatever it is, So on a serious note, going back to this, I think if we have a crack next year, and it can change very quick because the team is on paper, it's pretty good. I reckon I would put a bold prediction that I reckon it's either 23 or 24.
Mm-hmm.
I would put that, and you can put it on the record if these changes happen, and it's got to happen because right now we don't know what coach we got. Who knows if they're going to go for a rookie coach again, which I doubt. There's got to be some changes, but the good news is for all the supporters is that the changes are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, and there's positive and negative stuff about Luke Sayers, what's happening, but the guy's got a pretty big record, especially in the business world. Now, whether or not he can transfer that into a football club, that's something else. But if we're getting the right people in the door and we're really making a conscious effort for culture change, and it's the key words, culture, learning and development, then we're going to be in good stead because I think we've got the right players. Not completely, but we can develop on that. We can definitely contest. Just think about this, Tez. This year, aside from those 3 or 4 shitty games that we had, Collingwood, round 2, West Coast Sydney, and people say about Sydney, but Sydney was a good team. North Melbourne, Gold Coast. 3 of those games would have got us into the 8.
Mm-hmm.
And we played horrible sometimes, seriously. And we never played one game completely 4 quarters. Complete 4 quarters. I think maybe one game, maybe against Fremantle. And I doubt it. Actually, we'll probably tape it off the last quarter. So imagine when they start playing like a team and they've got team focus and they start playing 4 quarters and some of those players come back like Cunningham and Marchbank, which I'm a fan of, that sort of stuff. Give another year to Lockie O'Brien and Dow and etc. Yeah. I mean, you can look at it half glass full or half glass empty, but I'm willing to look at it full like you. We're both Murphy fans.
We are.
So, look, and I'm just spewing that he wasn't part of it, to be honest. But look, I'm quite boyish, and I think we're going to be okay. I think that Carlton has to come back, and it's a cycle, and it has to come back.
Yeah, no,
but
I'm with
right
you.
now, and as you're recording this, it's really, really a definitive time for change. Like we had that with 2015. If you remember those days when Sauce came in and stuff, and we're saying this is a really, really important part in the history. I'm telling you right now is even more important because if they don't get this right across the board, and meaning across the board and down, you might get same of the same and just have spikes, just like when they play. They've got to be team orientated, culture, humbleness, a whole bunch of different things that the great organizations have, and we need to have that. And we need to be looking at things like it's 2021, not like it's 1989, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mate, thanks so much for sharing. I love the insight. I'm sure the viewers will enjoy it as well. It's really cool to have that perspective, like a different perspective, and someone who's worked in the areas you've worked in. And I'm sure we'll be looking at what you're saying over the next few years and trying to figure out, are the boys or is the group hearing about the change, or are they listening and buying into the change? So thanks for being the 60th episode. And
mate, an absolute pleasure. It's been a long time waiting because you and I have been chatting for a little while, and really, and I would like to speak on behalf of at least a couple of my friends here. We really appreciate what you guys are doing on Blues Abroad. It is such a great fix for us. Just remember that we're not in the Melbourne bubble or Australian bubble. We're internationals, and your show is our go-to of what's happening. We're not getting the Herald Sun, or even though I know it's available online, but we don't have that. So your shows, the fan camps, the variety shows, etc., are wonderful, and keep it going. You guys are doing an amazing job.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you very much. I was once I was once an expat, and I know what it's like when you don't live in Melbourne. You turn the TV on, it's automatically on Fox Footy here in Melbourne, whatever the case may be. Like you go to a cafe and there's a newspaper on the desk and it's footy. Like I totally get what you're saying, and it's kind of a reason why it all started. Just to there is a massive contingent of supporters around the world, and I'm honoured to hear you say that, and I'm glad you watch. And I know the Jumper Punch boys are big fans of you as well. So
yeah, I love those guys. Yeah, they're very, very special. I think for me, and I just want to say this, I actually think they got the best show on the net. Seriously, and I keep on saying that. That show is. And I remember speaking to Rocco, I go, who's writing for this show? Do you have a professional team? Or what? It's like, no, we're writing. I'm like, wow. It's so clever. It's natural. It's raw. It's so entertaining. That 2 hours you watch it, it just goes. It's really good. So kudos to those guys. They're passionate about it, and they give it a complete different flavor. It's great. And things like they've added things like the reserves and that sort of stuff that we don't hear about. So for avid Carlton lovers to get that information, it's great.
Yeah,
entertaining. So, taking the piss a little bit sometimes, which is great.
That's what life's all about, not taking things too seriously. And I think they do a good job, mate. But listen, when you do get back to Melbourne, I've got a feeling you'll be on that couch for an episode. So
I'm sure they've invited me. They told me that too. It would be a pleasure to go on there and see the set, and they're wonderful. Yeah. And again, congrats on your show. Say that and keep it going, man. And there's a lot more people out there that also Carlton supporters everywhere around the world.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, mate. We'll chat soon, and go the Blues, hey?
Go the Blues.